mid-September, we continued our journey east through the Erie Canal, and after Oneida Lake, we docked in Rome, New York. We heard there were some reviews of the Rome free docks as being silted in and shallow. However, we found plenty of depth. We only draw 4.5 feet, but there was room for about 4 boats here. Rome is a nice town with an easy walk to restaurants and stores for supplies. We met with some great people and other cruisers heading south like us and decided to have dinner together at a restaurant called Coalyard Charlie's in Rome. We had a great night with them. We left Rome bright and early with the sun and did 3 locks and 6-hour day to reach Little Falls. The city of Little Falls has a great dock with amazing facilities. There's great showers, but the best part is the boaters lounge here. It is spacious and room for a group of boaters. We took advantage of it, and the amazing cruisers that we met put on a potluck. We had a card night. We stayed a couple nights here because the weather was rainy, and when you have good company, why not?
Saw them kicking into high gear.
Right after Little Falls is Lock 17, and it is the highest lift in the entire New York Canal system. It lifts you 40 feet, and we're going eastbound, so it drops us. And it has a massive lock gate that rises up, and you get wet when you go under it, especially when it's raining, as it was this day.
Back there.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Oh, poke your head up. Let me take a picture, you guys.
We found this lock to be the slowest out of all the locks we've had experienced thus far on the canal. It's probably because it is a 40-foot lift, but it was very, very slow. We usually anticipate about 15 to 20 minutes getting through each lock, and this one was about a half an hour. From Buffalo to Albany, New York, there are 36 locks. That includes the 2 federal locks on either end. And since we're about a little past halfway through, we feel like we got a pretty good system going. It's deceiving. You have to pull into these locks very slow, and I tend to, when helming, tend to go a little bit too fast. So it works out better when Aaron pulls us in, and then I am at the helm when we leave, and we pick up the lines. A lot of the locks have lines instead of pipes. Some of them have pipes. The guide for the New York Canal system tells you which one as you approach, so you know what to expect. We really enjoyed this section of the Erie Canal with the mountains. We found it to be beautiful and scenic. After a few days of heavy rain, the water levels in the canal were fairly high, making it a challenge to effectively raft up the lock wall. When we entered the lock, our fenders were riding almost on top of the lock wall. Some other cruisers had told us that they scraped and scratched their hull on the wall due to this high water. However, we just barely managed to keep from scraping with our oversized orange fenders. Even though it was only a couple hours of motoring, we tied up in Amsterdam. They have a really nice dock in their Riverlink Park. It's fairly new and excellent facilities. The Amsterdam Castle was originally built in the 1800s as an armory for the National Guard. Today it's a unique hotel. We got a chance to tour the common areas and it was very beautiful. We debated whether or not we should bring our bicycles. However, we were very happy that we did. They fold and store in the aft lazarette. We were able to use them to cycle all over the town of Amsterdam and see the sights. We decided to tie up in the town of Scotia. It is right across the river from Schenectady, New York. They have really nice floating docks here, and paying is on the honor system with little envelopes that you put money into. It was a great spot to see the town, and we actually took in a movie here. After completing the Waterford flight, which is the 5 locks in a row on the Erie Canal and represents the end of the canal, we entered Waterford. We heard that Waterford was crowded because a lot of cruisers weren't moving on into New York down the Hudson River system due to the weather forecast of an approaching hurricane. Before leaving Waterford, we made arrangements with Hoppeno's Marina in Catskill, New York to make sure they could put our mast back up. And then we headed down the Hudson River. And with the last lock, which is the Troy locks, we were very happy to be finished with locks. After we got our mast back up, we waited in Catskill, New York for about a week because the remnants of Hurricane Ian were still being felt after it had made landfall in Florida and then the South Carolinas on September 30th. It was still producing a lot of wind and rain, and so we just decided to take our time and wait for better weather. Join us next time as we head to New York City and then out into the Atlantic Ocean.